Hey, this is Derek McCaw, and welcome to Fanboy Planet Team Up. And yeah, very excited to have as my here. I'm just gonna because I told him I was gonna do this first. Hey, it's me. We are live here, and I'm gonna switch over to comments so I can see as people go. And I was trying. This is Joe's first StreamYard, so look, we get comments.
Woohoo!
My guest here tonight, teaming up, is Joe Whyte. Who we have been friends for, oh Lord, as we were just saying, Mumbly Peg was 25 years ago, so we've been friends for 29, 30 years, maybe?
Yeah.
And in that time, aside from sharing an abortive career in improv comedy, which again rises from the dead from time to time, and I'm going to use a lot of zombie jokes because absolutely we do. You were lucky enough, I don't even know what year this happened. Resident Evil Remastered. You took over the role when they remastered, did the higher definition version of the game of Chris Redfield, the protagonist of Resident Evil. So,
and not only Chris Redfield, but also Richard Aiken. Same game, two parts. I tend to make fun of Richard because he's people ask me, well, how did you come up with the second voice? And essentially they told me, can you do another voice for this guy named Richard in the game? He's just been attacked by a giant snake. So Richard is essentially Chris with a hernia.
Oh, okay.
That's my whole thing.
Yes. So with Chris, the only line I remember, I think you have a signature line from that, or at least the first time you demoed the game for me, you said you played this up to a point where it said the intro, like, it's a madhouse. Is that correct?
It's a madhouse. And it became a nightmare. I remember that one.
That's it. Okay. So yes, it became.
Yeah.
And I think you turned to me live in your living room and said, a nightmare. You were very Charlton Heston that night. So anyway, you've got 2 appearances this week, and that's one of the reasons we're not only is the timing right to talk about a Halloween, not themed, but definitely appropriate for Halloween video game that you are a voice in, but also that on Friday, that would be October 30th, and I've got this link going down below, there's a virtual convention, Residents of Evil, that will be on YouTube, and I think you can also find them on Twitter, but I don't know if you can watch the convention on Twitter. I think YouTube is your best bet, and that's why that's the link I'm using here. So Residents of Evil is this convention, youtube.com/c/ROE network. Let's talk about that convention and how you got involved in it.
Well, this is a very cool thing. The folks at ROE have put together the first gathering of a large number of Resident Evil voice actors. There are probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 actors that they've contacted and got together to do this. People who've played all the big roles in all the Resident Evil games, from the first one to the latest, to Resident Evil 7. 8 has not come out yet, of course. Anxiously waiting for that to drop. But all the way up through Resident Evil 7, we've got, I have to look at the list of people, but people who played Jill Valentine, people who, Rebecca. It's going to be fantastic. You're really going to get to meet a lot of the voice actors who've worked on the series over the years, and it's very exciting. It's going to be all day Friday, events, meetings with people. There's going to be virtual autograph sessions. So yeah, it's going to be super. And I think they've got it on everything. I think it's going to be on Facebook. I think it's going to be on Instagram. I think it's on, I don't know if it's on, I don't think you can watch it live on Twitter. No, you can't Twitter doesn't do live stuff, do they?
I'm learning as I try to move out into more technology, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure and I should say, if you are somebody watching this live, feel free to correct us if we don't know something about social media by all means. And
guys,
live,
figure out when I was a young boy, we used to do.
And if you're not watching this live, feel free to correct me via email later or comments on the YouTube channel, editor@fanboyplanet.com.
Yes.
It is what it is, and we try to figure it out as we go. So you're doing this virtual convention. Is this the first convention you've done?
This is my first convention. I'll tell you the truth. After I did this game, when I got the role to play Chris Redfield, I had no idea what Resident Evil was. I wasn't a gamer at the time. I think this was 98, 99. And I really wasn't in the community at all. I wasn't aware of what was going on. So I got the part because I visited my wife one day at work. She was working at a company called Sound Deluxe, which is where they did the sound design for the game and the recording of some of the voices. And I stopped by to visit her, and the casting person was there. She was a friend of ours, and she said, "Hey, I'm casting this video game." She knew that I was an actor and that I had done a little bit of voice work at Disney prior to that. And she said, "Would you like to? We're trying to find a voice match for this guy who did the part originally." And
because you told me earlier, he passed away.
He passed away at
that point
a few years ago. The guy who did the original Chris Redfield passed away. So I never got to meet him, never got to talk to him. He kind of dropped out after Resident Evil. If you look at his IMDb page, there's not a whole lot of listings for other stuff. Anyway, they said, "We're trying to voice match this guy. Do you want to drop in the booth and see if you can match his tone?" So I said, "Sure, yeah, great, okay." So I did, and they liked what I did, and they said, "You're pretty good. Would you like to do this part?" And I said, "Well, what is it?" They said, "It's a video game. The part is a guy named Chris Redfield." And I said, "Sure, okay." I did the part. I think we recorded, it was maybe four or five recording sessions of about 4 hours each. By law, if it's a union gig, you can't go longer than 4 hours because they try to protect your voice. If you're doing a voiceover for more than 4 hours, you blow your voice out. So I did that, and the game came out, and that was when I started playing because I wanted to see, of course, what my voice sounded like on it. So I went out and bought a GameCube, and I bought the game, and I started playing it and fell in love with it. And it was just the most amazing.
I gotta say, that's how long ago this was, honestly. GameCube. I mean, so we were just talking about, we don't understand this modern technology. There are people watching this stream that may also be like, GameCube? What was that?
That's right.
So you didn't even know you were walking into one of the most iconic and best-known video games in the world.
Had no idea whatsoever. No idea. So fast forward 15 years, and this is 5 years ago or so. I was working at Disney Publishing, working as a modeler, which is the other half of my life is being a CG modeler for films and video games. And I was working at Disney Publishing on some educational video games, doing digital art. And I walked to lunch one day. I was walking to Carl's Jr. and I get this phone call from London. Like, what the? Okay, hi. And this guy named Paul Freshwater who runs the Crimson Head Elder podcast, and we've become very good friends since then. But he called up and he said, "Hello, Joe. I have a little podcast for Resident Evil stuff, and would like very much to get you on the podcast. Would you be interested in talking?" And I was completely blown away that anyone still cared, So I went on, did the podcast a couple of times, and then became aware that there's this whole wonderful Resident Evil community, all these great people out there who just love the games and take the storyline very seriously, and really have become like this extended family. And I do the podcasts all the time now. I'm actually one of the official it's like a 4-person team that runs Crimson Head Elder, and I'm one of the 4 people on the team. And Sheriff the Great, who's in the comments there, is often there. Another good buddy from the community, and so that's what we're doing. And as things are progressing, as social media is taking more attention, and people are doing more podcasts and video blogs and all that stuff, I have been asked to do more of the podcasts, and so I'm kind of expanding. This is all new to me. Anybody under the age of 30 is now well versed in social media, and I just never really paid that much attention to it. But I'm now having to dive into it because there's this thing.
Yeah, and so that's I'm running the banner for that for Crimson Head Elder.
Yes.
Is twitch.tv, and you're doing that on
Saturday. That's on Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will be running the game. We're going to do a little reunion with me and Hope Levy, the actress who played Rebecca in the original the remake. We call it remake, capital R-E make. And we've never met. Hope and I did this video game together 20 years ago, and we've never met, never spoken. So we're going to meet on Saturday for the first time and have some fun, just talk and chat about the gig and how all of that came together. And then we're going to actually run through the the remake of the game live on, I want to say Twitch. It might be Discord, might be both. I think it's actually.
I think you run on both. I think Twitch is the stream, Discord is the chat. They run
right. That's right.
I have a 16-year-old son who has tried to explain this to me a couple of times, and I think that's what's stuck. So I'm with you. So you brought up your day job, or the other part of your avocation is as an actor and as a voice actor. You've done some Disney films, but you've also worked on Disney films as a modeler and for many other studios too. So I think most recently, if I'm right, and of course, tell me if I'm wrong, you worked on the Addams Family, right?
I did. I worked on the Addams Family at a company called Cinesight, which was what they call a vendor for. The way a lot of companies are working now is they'll do the script and the visual development for a film in Los Angeles, and then they outsource the rest of the work to another company, a vendor company. And I was working at Cinesight in Montreal, Canada, first 6 months of last year, which was amazing. Wonderful people. Montreal is an amazing, amazing city. I love it so much. And I did some stand-up there too at a place called the Comedy Nest. So shout out to the folks at Comedy Nest. And I also did some stand-up at the Blue Dog. If you are in Montreal, make sure you go to those places because they're wonderful. And worked on the Addams Family and a film called Extinct, which has not come out yet.
Okay.
And then my contract ended there, and I came back to Los Angeles and started working on a film at Warner Brothers called Darkmouth, which sadly got shelved after working on it for 5, almost 6 months. The company decided to pull it. And then I started working at Paramount, which is where I'm working right now on a film that I can't talk about yet. Okay. It hasn't been disclosed. But before that, I was at Disney for 16 years.
And everything. We have a question related to this because, like I said, I met you. We were doing comedy sports. You were in the Hollywood team or the LA team, and I was on the San Jose team. And So I didn't know you as a modeler initially. We were just friends.
Mhm.
But now Sheriff the Great asks, he had no idea you were doing modeling in VFX. So what made you want to do that? How did you fall into that side of things?
Well, it's largely because of my work in modeling that I got into voiceover. Now, prior to working at Disney, I was working at a law firm, and I was also working in game shows. I was a production person on the $25,000 Pyramid for many years, and I was working at a law firm, and that ended. So I got hooked up with a temp agency that got me a job as a clerk for Buena Vista Home Video, which at the time, mid 90s, was the video distribution arm for all of Disney's films. So they,
Right. Yeah.
tapes not. And so I was working there, and do you remember Dave Cox?
I remember Dave. Yeah.
He's
a magician. Yeah.
His girlfriend at the time, Autumn, called me up one day and said, "Hey, I'm working at Feature Animation, Disney Feature Animation, and we're looking for another production assistant for Hercules. Are you interested in coming over?" So she got me in over there, and I started working in animation. I fell in love with animation, fell in love with the process, fell in love with the people, and really just wanted to stay in that world. Unfortunately, when Hercules was finished, they let me go. But fortunately, the Monday after the Friday I got laid off, I got another job at Disney Animation through the temp agency, working in the operations department as a coordinator. So I was just, if someone needed a light bulb, I would call the electricians to bring them a light bulb. While I was doing that, I met a bunch of great people, great artists at Disney, and they kind of took me under their wings. And met this one guy who was modeling. I looked in his office. He was modeling the bell tower from Hunchback of Notre Dame. He was modeling it in something called Alias Power Animator, which was the software that became Maya, which is now the industry standard for modeling. And I said, "Wow, that's crazy cool. What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm modeling. This is called modeling. You're making stuff in 3D." And I said, "Well, I'm really interested in that." And he said, "Well, I'll get you an account on the systems and you can start to learn it." And so for about a little over a year, I just spent all of my free time in the lab at Disney, training, just going through the manual for Alias Power Animator. And I taught myself how to model. A couple of months into that, some of the other artists noticed that I was really serious about it, and they kind of started giving me little assignments and teaching me little things about how to do it. After doing that for about a year, one of the CG supervisors came to the office and said, "Hey, we have an opening for a modeling trainee on Tarzan. Are you interested?" And that was the start of my modeling career. And I worked on every movie at Disney, almost in up to Tangled.
Yeah.
So from Tarzan to Tangled, you can see a lot of my work in those films.
And we can hear a little, because I know you did scratch photos that stayed, and as I recall, Emperor's New Groove, Deathless Line. Say it for me. Say it for me.
Well, there's 8 different characters.
Okay, but you know which one I'm thinking of.
I've been turned into a cow. Can I go home?
Yeah, that's.
Is it that one?
Yes, that's it. I think that was the one that was in the commercial, and I was like, "That's Joe." So
my other line from that movie is, "I'm sorry, but you've thrown off the Emperor's groove," and that's also me. So
you're that man. You're that man. That's awesome. See,
that's how I got into voiceover, because working at Disney, they use what they call scratch actors. Scratch acting is when they're making an animated film, they will record all the dialogue from the film. They'll record the entire script using people who work in the building. Sometimes the director will come in the booth and do some voices. What they're just trying to do is build the reel to check the timing of the scene, make sure that the dialogue all works together. And then once they've got that locked, they start to bring in the real actors. And they'll do that. That process goes on through the entire making of the film. So they'll get little chunks of actual dialogue, and then they'll mix that with what they call scratch dialogue. So I was a scratch actor at Disney for all those years that I was there. That's where I learned how to do it. And one of the directors hooked me up with a friend of his who was an agent. My dear friend Stephen Nybert, who is, was my agent at Abrams Artists, and he broke off and formed his own agency called Imperium 7 here in Hollywood, and I'm still with him. So
that's great. If I can do a little plug for something else, another one of my projects is that actually I know a guy who was the scratch actor for Chris Pratt's role in Onward, stayed on as the cop, George Saris, and he just produced me doing a reading of one of my horror short stories for a City Lights Theater Company podcast, Filament.
Great.
Which is Spooky Lights, is actually tomorrow, right? The first episode came out today, so on Thursday, the episode featuring my story, me reading my story. I can't wait to hear what he does. But so I got to say that people look out for Spooky Lights on Filament at City Lights Theater Company, because you're going to dig the story. But I hope you are. Anyway, sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt your promotion.
No, please.
Self-promote, because I rarely do this. But anyway, I rarely have something to do. I mean, it's an amazing story when you think about it, because if somebody's going into the business today, I don't know if it's going to be if a company, especially now, let's take away 2020 and the unprecedented times, the phrase I hate the most now, but there is no better saying for it. But but even in 2019, a company, are they going to have the patience to train, to have someone like yourself in operations who goes, I'm going to noodle around, I'm going to teach myself modeling. And then, I mean, you've had an amazing, and you've earned it. And so don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that any other way, but it's like somebody did that today.
A lot of luck. I don't know that someone could do it today. I like to think that if you're working at Disney, I still believe in the ethos of Disney Animation. Maybe not the whole company, but definitely at Feature Animation, there is an ethos of bringing up the new people. So passing on the training, constantly mentoring the young folks that are coming into the business, to bring them up to the level. And in my opinion, Disney Animation is the highest level of animation in the industry. But the thing that they have now that they didn't have when I was doing that was, now every high school, every college in the country has a 3D arts program. So you've got students coming out of school, and I also teach. I teach at Cal Arts. I teach character modeling at Cal Arts here in Valencia. And so you've got kids coming out of college who are killer artists. They're really good. So would they take a chance on training someone like me again? Probably not, because they don't have to. Disney gets, especially at Disney, maybe at a smaller company, but they have their pick of the cream of the crop. So why would they train a beginner?
Well, I mean, still, but you're right. There's a lot more opportunity to learn coming up as a student than there really was. I mean, I think some of those things, I often say, and this is weird that we're going from Resident Evil to Disney to like career counseling, but in reality, what your job was, as a modeler, was something that 25 years ago, it was just really starting. I think it was Treasure Planet was the first one that really kind of integrated the two things. Oh, no. I got to take that back, because The Great Mouse Detective had some really primitive modeling in it. But I mean, you're looking at, that's an evolution. That's a job that did not exist. Okay, let me go back further, 40 years ago. So
right.
I know from having worked on the inside of schools that sometimes making those kinds of innovations in a training program, in a high school education program in particular, can be a slow process, because when it's something new, it's like, really? It's the rare and valuable administrator, quite honestly, who says, I see some value in that. Yeah, run with it. So you know, I guess because right now teachers are under a lot of stress and a lot of fire, and I want to say kudos to all of the people that I used to work with and who are still in the trenches doing it, and anybody else, because I know.
Praise for
yeah. So I want to.
I see my wife doing it now. You know, Kate has her master's degree in education, which is a huge benefit to our daughter Clara, because she's being homeschooled right now, and Kate really knows how to do that. I can't imagine what parents who are not teachers at all and don't have any experience with that kind of thing, how they're dealing with homeschooling their children, because it's really difficult.
Yeah. And I do want to, this is a good, as we start to wrap up a little bit here, once again, Residents of Evil on Friday, starting at 8 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Central. But in your virtual autograph session, I think you were saying that some of the fee, I don't know how you say, you know, some of the autograph cost, whatever, you will be donating to charity.
Yes, the TS Alliance. My daughter has something called tuberous sclerosis. It's not widely known. It's a horrible disease that affects the genes that control tumor growth in the body. She is profoundly affected by it, and so the Tuberous Sclerosis Alliance is the charity to which I'll be giving 75% of any money that I make off of autographs. So please help us support that very worthy cause.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the other thing you'll be appearing on Saturday is, of course, the Crimson Head Elder podcast. And I have this feeling right now that after we finish here, I'm going to have to run to my PlayStation 4 and download Resident Evil and try playing it in the corners, because this is how, you know, the difficulty of working from home has been, is that, of course, now my wife, who works for Disney, is also she's in the kitchen working right now. Like, that's where the PlayStation is, so I can't really play evil things behind her. But anyway, all right. So, it's always a pleasure. We don't talk nearly often enough, and you know, we'll probably be writing things again in the future, and you'll hear from us both. But it's been great, and I do want to say, of course, to anybody who is watching right now, thank you so much. If you're watching live, particularly, hey, great to see you. I know it's sometimes short notice. If you are watching this after the fact, still feel free to comment, and you can do it on Facebook. You can do it on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube page, or you can write to me at editor@fanboyplanet.com. And as always, I want to remind you, especially now, use your powers only for good.